Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from RotoWire. It's Super Wild Card Weekend. Not my name, the NFL's name. That's what they're calling it. That's what we're calling it. We love it. We have playoff football, John Ryan. Look, we're going to talk gambling against the spread. We're going to have some prop bets. And I just came up with the mother of all prop bets today. We're going to love that one too. Not as good as John Ryan's picks, but I'm going to do my best here. And also, we're going to cover some DFS because we got some Saturday slate, some Sunday slate, and a one-game Monday slate. It's going to be a big weekend. John Ryan, as you know, 28 years of professional bettor. In the last 24 months, 2 years, 74% against the spread on his max bets. In the NFL alone, 65% in the last 3 years. And you can find John at John Ryan Sports 1. You can find me at Jim Coventry NFL. John Ryan, tell people how you are today before I introduce our first game.
Well, after that introduction, I'm doing just marvelous. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Jim. And how are things going for you?
Things are great. Like I said, playoff season is beautiful. And the reason is instead of breaking down 16 games, which is really tough to do, we do it, we work hard. But when we only have 6 games to break down, the level of time you could spend on those 6 games goes up significantly. And I can uncover, like you, some extra edges because of the smaller slate. For me, it's breaking down more defensive players, offensive linemen, just seeing where the teams, I try to figure out based on that where the teams are in a game plan. I have a good feel for that all season, never better than the playoffs. So, John, you're first against the spread winner. You are going to talk about the 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, first of all, the Seahawks have been Seahawks are a 9.5 point dog, 49ers 9.5 point favorite. The weather is what people are talking about. I checked in with the local channel out there. Basically, all morning, heavy rain. It will get the field wet. The rain should dissipate by kickoff. They're expecting about 50% chance of rain during the first half, up to 75% with possible lightning in the fourth quarter. So there could even be a delay. So I just want fans to know that there is a weather issue here. And before we get John in, the 49ers won both games very convincingly. 27-7 early in the season, 21-13 with a garbage time touchdown on a short week in Seattle down the stretch. Now, I want to point this out as well. The 49ers dealt with adversity in both games. In the first matchup, Trey Lance actually started. He broke his ankle or foot a few plays into that game. And George Kittle was out. And in the second game, of course, the 49ers had Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, but Deebo Samuel is out. So the Seahawks have not seen the full state of this 49ers offense. Therefore, Kyle Shanahan has a great advantage in that Pete Carroll has nothing to go on here in terms of what to expect. John Ryan, break this game down for us.
I'll tell you, I could talk for hours on this matchup. It is really a great betting matchup. It's almost a case study for me to store away for teaching purposes down the road, because you have a situation here where a lot of people are thinking that San Francisco is already a locked done deal. Excuse me, Jim. And I'm here to tell you that Pete Carroll, for those that don't know, this is the 10th year he's been in the playoffs since arriving in Seattle in 2010. There's only one guy that has appeared in the playoffs more times than Pete Carroll. And I'm not even going to give you a one chance to guess who that is, but it is Belichick for those that don't know. So you have an experienced head coach here that is defensive-minded. He's lost twice to the 49ers. The 49ers in their entire franchise history have never beaten the same team 3 times in a row in the same season, Jim. That makes me nervous, but I do like the 49ers to get it together today. Their secondary has been a little bit shaky in recent games, which is, a head scratcher too. But, double-digit home favorites in the wild card round of the playoffs. So we're basically at -10 now. I think that's where the market will end up. Maybe it'll go to 10.5 by game time. But double-digit home favorites in the wild card round are 15-0, Jim, straight up, 14-1. Against the spread, 93%. 11-4 over under, 73% since 2002. It's another angle I like too. I like the over in this game because of what I just said. These games are, it's San Fran's defense. Seattle can't do this. Seattle can't do that. Well, Geno Smith, the last time I checked, led the NFC with 30 touchdown passes and also led the entire NFL in completion percentage. Does that sound like a bad team that should be double-digit underdog? So here's my strategy, Jim. I'm going to bet 50% pre-flop on the 49ers, minus whatever it is. As soon as we get done with the show, I'm going to go to the window and get it done. And then I'm going to look for a level at 7.5. I might be getting a little greedy with that, especially if the 49ers score first. But if I'm getting greedy and I don't get that bet in, what does that mean about the other 50%? That means it has to be covering. So I like that strategy quite a bit. I would do the same thing with the total. This game is probably going to start out, no pun intended, like playing in the mud. I shouldn't have said that because it's absolutely disastrous out in
Yes.
California.
Yes. I've had sad.
It is very sad. So I apologize for that. But if the game starts out slow, which it easily could, because both head coaches want to shorten the game, get it into the second half with a lead is what they both want to do. That's going to give you a chance to get this total even cheaper, probably as many as 6 points cheaper than you're seeing it right now. So I would look for that as well in this game and then see what happens. And then there's another one tonight.
Absolutely, there is. Now, I want to support some of John's with my game film breakdown. So the 49ers, you like minus the points. Geno Smith, you're right. He's been a good quarterback all season aggregately. He's only thrown like one touchdown pass or fewer in his last 3 games. His yards per target has significantly gone down as the season's gone on. Teams, the offensive tackles for the Seahawks, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, they were good earlier in the season. They kind of got figured out. We saw that in the last 49ers game, but not just that game. So now teams are getting quicker pressure on them. Geno, what's the solution? Got to get the ball out quicker. What does that limit? The downfield passing game, the wet field also. So the 49ers, you mentioned astutely, they have been getting beat up in the passing game. But these were teams with quarterbacks basically were willing to just sling it downfield, and it worked. Geno Smith, as the season's gone on, and in his career, Geno Smith hasn't been the guy to sling it downfield. So I think, as always, John Ryan, you are spot on with this. But I think the 49ers come in with a great situation here. So I love that pick, as always, John Ryan, with the winners for you. I'm going to cover a few prop bets here. Now, this one, the line didn't come out on this one. There was no line like yesterday. So I didn't post this in my earlier threads. But if you want to see all my prop threads, go to @JimCoventryNFL on Twitter. Give me a follow and check these threads out. But the best prop of the week, it's Donald Parham of the Chargers over 10.5 receiving yards. Now it's juiced up. It's minus 140. I get it. That's a heavy price to pay. But to me, this is going to be an easy one. Let me give you a quick rationale here. So first of all, his snaps the last 4 game Parhams, they've gone up 21, 23, 25, and 34. Now, he hasn't hit that 10 yards in 2 of his last 4 games, but in the other 2, it's at least 31 yards. Now, in those 2 games he missed, in one of the games, there was a long pass that he caught, which called off for a penalty that wasn't his responsibility. Now, the 2 games he didn't hit those 10 yards, they were against teams in the top half against tight ends, Indy and the Rams. Tough to get yards on them. Now, in his yards per route run, he's 96th percentile among tight ends. That means he's a downfield guy. And remember, he only needs 11 yards to cash. He also sees 18.8 air yards per game. Again, 1 catch, you've got it. His yards per target, 10.8. This all are over with even 1 catch. And his yards per reception is at 13. His catch rate, now it's a small sample, it's 83%. Now, as we go further, Mike Williams is out. That's huge. Mike Williams is their only downfield guy. Jalen Guyton was lost early in the season to injury. Donald Parham is a stretch the field tight end. He may not obviously every down, but when they need a shot play, since Mike Williams isn't there, it's going to be Parham. And as where Mike Williams would be lined up on a corner, you're going to see Parham lined up on a safety or a linebacker. And Parham is massive. He can fly and he's huge. Nobody's covering him. So look, when we look at it this way, and I want to mention 2 more things. Jaguars, very good against the run. And Chargers don't like to run. They also have a top 8 pressure unit, the Jaguars do. So they're going to protect Herbert. How do you do that? No Mike Williams. You put a second tight end on the field. That means Parham and Everett both play a lot. They both get heavier snaps than usual. Now, people are going to say, well, what about Gerald Everett? Get to him in a minute. But the Jaguars have given about 1,087 yards to tight ends this season, 3rd most in the league. And now the prop is 11 yards to win, right? In 7 of the last 8 games, the Jaguars have allowed 2 tight ends on a team to go over that. Again, 7 of the last games, 2 tight ends on the team have beaten that number. Now, why don't we bet Gerald Everett? A, his yardage is higher, but B, we said Parham snaps are going up. Everett's are going down. 56 to 44 to 37, all the way down to 30 last week. So he is getting phased down. Parham's phasing up. I'll stop at that one, but this should be an easy play. Prop bet of the week. Juiced up, but take it. I'll be fast on these other ones, John Ryan. All right. Tyler Lockett over 4.5 receptions. Again, this one's juiced up a bit. Ultimately, they're going to have to throw Seattle at some point. When they do, the Seahawks will press man against DK Metcalf with Charvarius Ward, but they tend to play off coverage on Tyler Lockett a bit. They'll allow him to short catch. They don't want him burning him deep. So he will be the hot route on a lot of these quick passes. He should get 6 or 7 or even 8 receptions, but the over prop is 4.5. Should be an easy cash there. If you want more detail on this, again, Jim Coventry NFL on Twitter. I'll break it down. These are going to be fast. You can get the detail if you'd like. Saquon Barkley over 3.5 receptions. First of all, he has at least 4 catches in 4 of his last 6. He has at least 5 targets in 5 of his last 7. And Minnesota has been very generous to receiving running backs this year. The last time he played Barkley a few weeks ago, 8 catches on 10 targets. He's sailing over to 3.5 receptions here. Joe Mixon over 3.5 receptions against the Ravens. Mixon has at least 5 catches in 3 straight games. The offense is morphing right now. It's one where they're glad to check the ball down because teams are overselling to stop the deep play for Chase. So the underneath is opening. This has been working out. And against Baltimore has, in the last 4 weeks, they give the 9th most receptions to running backs. So they've been more vulnerable to that. And Cincinnati without left guard Alex Kappa, they also lost Lyle Collins. So how do they mitigate the pass rush? You dump to your running back. Last one really fast, Justin Jefferson over 91.5 yards. He's been under that a few times recently. Not much, not often at all. 7 of his last 9 games. He's got 11 targets. The 98 or more yards, 10 of his last 13. The games he didn't make it, Dallas was all over the quarterback. Jair Alexander manned him up with help. This is a game where the Giants have nobody to deal with Jefferson. Again, the whole breakdown at Jim Coventry NFL. Check that. John Ryan, we have another game that you're going to break down. I'm sorry I was so long-winded there.
No, it was great. I could listen to you for hours.
Thank you.
The Justin Jefferson thing is I really like that bet. That by far was the most favorite. That was the most popular player in terms of people on Twitter asking me questions through direct message. Like, what's up with this line? It seems like it's a gift from God, and why am I scared to bet it? And you clarified that in a hurry for us.
Yes, and Vegas can never set a prop on a receiver at 120 yards. They'll never do it. If it's Jerry Rice playing, right, they would never set it 120 yards because probability-wise, the under on that is just going to be so prevalent. But yes, 100%, John. John, next game, Vikings and the Giants. This will be Sunday at 4:40 Eastern. Vikings are a 3-point favorite, over and under 48.5. These teams recently played. Wild game. John, that game was only 13-10 at the end of the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter came, 27-24. Late lead changes, 60-something yard field goal to win the game. John, break this game down for us.
Yeah, I think I remember that game betting the under and thinking there was a winner, and I think it covered, but I don't quite remember. I know I was sweating bullets when it was coming down the wire there because that came out of nowhere.
Yes.
But, I think this game's going to be a little different. I do like the under in this matchup. I also like the Giants. I am concerned that I feel like, the betting percentages that I'm looking at, both number of tickets and money, so far are on the Giants a bit excessively, which is giving me a little bit of caution in backing them as much as I wanted to Sunday night. But I'm here to tell you that I look at just about every single stat in my database, and I also look at yards after the catch, which is one of my favorites and has one of the best correlations to playoff victories. Guess who has this advantage? You wouldn't think it would be the Giants, would you?
No.
But it is. Dogs that have the better average yards gained after the catch in the wild card round, 7-5 straight up. And we're talking about dogs here.
Right.
9-3 against the number for 75%, and the under 8-4. So a relatively small sample size, but it definitely points towards the Giants and its yards after the catch. So, teams like Like the 49ers rank very high in this as well. They rank very high in defensive yards after the catch allowed too. But the Giants, they don't really stretch the field all that much. They probably have done more of that recently than in the beginning of the season. But these little handoff passes is what generates these good stats of yards after the catch. Now, if in this situation here, if we are a road dog of more than 2.5 points, it's still the same 8-3 against the spread for 73% winners. And that also targets Miami. And I'm not going to get into that. You wouldn't take that trend. And the reason I brought that up, Jim, is for new bettors. You see a trend like that and you go, oh my goodness gracious, I'm getting 14 and a half points taking the Dolphins. Don't do it. Even if the Dolphins end up covering, this trend is just one trend of, literally hundreds that I have in my database. And you never make a bet just on one single trend or angle. As you can see, when I do the analysis with Jim every week, we both give multiple reasons why we like a situation. The other thing here was, let me just scroll down here, Jim. Road teams that scored a touchdown on more than 50% of their red zone chances in the wild card are 32-27 straight up. I'm sorry, 32-37 straight up. 35-30 with 4 pushes. So not anything real big there for the Giants, but the under is 45-23 with 1 push. That's 66% winning bets. That angle not only supports the playing the under in the Giants Vikings game, but it also supports it in the Cowboys Tampa Bay game, Miami, Buffalo, and the Chargers and the Jaguars. So there's an angle that hits 4 of them all on the under in a pretty powerful situation. For this game, Jim, I am going to take the Giants, and I'm going to take the under. My preferred bet is, or the one I like better, is the under.
That's fantastic. Love the trends as well. See, John Ryan, you're doing it right if you're following John Ryan at John Ryan Sports 1. John gets into the weeds here. He not only understands the game, he understands the trends. That's why John's a professional gambler. That's why he's winning at an exponentially high rate. It's the work. It's putting the work in. It's probability. Do we win every time? Of course not. It's the NFL. 17-point favorites don't win every time. So that's going to happen. But we will at least land you on the good side of probability, John especially. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like and subscribe button. We'd appreciate it greatly. And if you like, now, one more thing, RotoWire. If you are playing in a fantasy football contest where you have to get a lineup in, I did rankings for the entire playoffs. And if you want to see it free, if you're not a subscriber, get you 2 days free behind the paywall. Go to rotowire.com/try, and you don't need a credit card, and you can access my rankings for the playoffs as you go ahead and set your fantasy playoff rosters for that. All right, John Ryan, I have some DFS recommendations. This will not be long-winded. If you're playing the Saturday slate, look, we know what the weather is going to potentially be like in San Francisco. So you're going to have to get a player from that game in. But I would like to recommend heavily investing in the night game. Now, if you want one player from that 49ers game, Elijah Mitchell is cheaper. He has been getting significant carries in the 4 games he's played with Christian McCaffrey. He's a chance to score. If they have a lead, he's going to run. Right now, he is getting enough work to cash that low salary and let you spend more money on that night game because there will be a lot of running. So if I'm stacking this up, the 3-man stack from LA, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Donald Parham. Keenan Allen, the huge struggles in the slot for Jacksonville. Keenan Allen is their alpha receiver with Mike Williams out. Justin Herbert, they're going to get him out of the pocket away from that pass rush, and he's always finding out, and we mentioned earlier, Donald Parham, not just to cover that prop. He has a real chance for a big game here with downfield catches and in the red zone. Again, he's a massive target. You want to run that back? You run it back with Travis Etienne for sure. 6,000 on DraftKings. We said a couple weeks ago, bet the under against the Titans because he was not going to run. But otherwise, in his other recent games, at least 75, 80 yards, chance to score, and the Chargers can't stop anybody. So that's a stack we like. The Sunday slate, if you're looking at the Sunday slate and your punt play for Miami is Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert broke his thumb. He's out. Jeff Wilson, they will try as long as they can till they're getting blown out to run the ball. But even when they're blown out, he could get screen passes as well. Nobody's going to like Jeff Wilson here. But again, they'll start running the ball. So that's an opportunity. And then otherwise, we're looking at that Giants and Vikings game. Daniel Jones, 5,600, he'll run. His receiver, Richie James, he's been catching 7 to 9 passes a game in the slot. That racks up those PPR points real fast. And then obviously on the other side, Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. And now we're taking Daniel Jones over Cousins. Salary's cheaper. The running yardage goes up there. But Jefferson and Hawkinson should dominate target share here. And they both have specific mismatches against the Giants. And Monday, if you're playing Monday, 3 players I'm going to recommend. You're going to play 5 or 6. But in the single game slate, Leonard Fournette, because the receiving out of the backfield, his receptions have gone back to being high. Rashad White's been phased down a bit. So Fournette should have a really high floor with ceiling. Chris Godwin has a great advantage against the secondary Dallas corners that have struggled. And the dart throw in that game, T.Y. Hilton. They've been taking deep shots at Hilton. They've connected on some, but he has a good matchup against the Bucs because the Bucs get beat on double moves, and T.Y. Hilton looks quick. He still looks like he can run, and they will do some play action, a couple deep shots. He could be a real nice dart throw. John, any final words for people before the weekend of football starts up? I think John froze on me here, or maybe I froze on them. So it looks like John froze, so I am going to continue on right now. So if you're not following us, John is at John Ryan Sports 1. I'm at Jim Coventry NFL. If you want all 6 games broken down, you have Sirius XM. Go to Fantasy Channel 87 on XM, 1 to 3 Eastern. Myself and Mario Puig will break the heck down out of those games for you. Everybody, good luck this weekend, and good luck in the playoffs. We'll see you next week.